Welcome to an episode of First Use, and in today's episode I'm going to go through Carlton. Even though they didn't win the game over the weekend against the Gold Coast Suns, I've had a lot of requests from obviously the Blue Baggers and all their fans. What was the big difference between the first three quarters and the last quarter? So what I'm going to go through is purely just the third quarter, where Gold Coast were able to kick 6 goals to, I think, 1. But then on the flip side, what Carlton improved in the last quarter and what they're able to do. So the key areas that I want to focus on, what they're able to do. They had the forwards come up and are able to impact the contest. They won the contested ball, particularly out of the stoppages, centre bounces and around the grounds. They played on at every opportunity. They used their hands. And one of the things that I was really impressed with, and one of the areas that I've been really critical of Carlton this year, is they went one-on-one behind the ball. So when Suns had the ball, they went one-on-one. They created a good setup behind the ball, and then it forced the Suns to go down the line, and then they're able to win the contested footy. So let's get in the footage now, and I'll show you how they're able to execute that in the game over the weekend. I've got a few plays here in the third quarter which resulted in Suns goals, and this is Blake Acres. These snapshots that I'll show you in the third quarter that resulted in goals are really easily fixes in my opinion. A couple of contested footies which they're able to win in the last quarter, and just discipline, ability just to be aware that this is a left footer in Fiorini, and just to keep your just touch and feel. You watch Blake Acres just gets sucked into the contest and the ball slips out. Fiorini gets it, goal. When a left footer is on this side of the ground, you have to be, that's high alert. If there's a right footer on that side of the ground, that's high alert. So in that situation, Blake Acres just got sucked into the footy, ball watching. In that situation, hold your position, touch and feel. So this is Matty Rao. I thought Hewitt was really, really good in the last quarter, able to touch and feel. But this is where they sort of lacked. When there's a long ball down the line, just that little separation. And when you're playing against Rao, that's all they need. And Noah Anderson, they don't need too much space to be able to then go and get on the run. And this is a brilliant kick in space. Look at that. A great kick. But see, the touch and feel. So this is what they were lacking in the first three quarters for Carlton. Suns going right at screen. The other thing that Carlton did is they continued to go with their zone, but they didn't have representation and run down chase with their small forwards from behind. So it allowed time and space like this for the Suns to actually then be able to handball around. And then once again, they had players coming at the contest. And I know sometimes you need to do it, but if they had a small forwards coming from behind, that's where Mackay comes up, but sort of shuffles a little bit to get him to make a decision whether to kick it down the line or whether to. But then you allow time and space, because the Suns player right now hasn't got eyes behind his head. It allows then time for those small forwards to come and put pressure on behind. That's what they did in the last quarter. But the first three quarters, they didn't do that. So they come up and it's just an easy kick over into space. The other thing is too, they still continued to go with their zone. So this is one of the things I want to point out, what they did in the last quarter, as in behind the ball, they went man on man, and it made a massive difference to the way they were able to, win the ball back and then go forward. And that's why their small forwards had a massive impact in the last quarter. But see with the zone, and then you just get these kicks that just go into the zone. So that's where they fell. That's where they were able to fall away. That's how their structure. A lot of clubs now, even on the weekend when I watched Sydney behind the ball, they went one-on-one. And it created better structure for them and better starting points for their players to be able to get the turnover and release going forward. Okay, so this is the start of the last quarter. Now, what I want to show you is what they actually tidied up. So, as I said at the start of the video, they fixed up their stop plays, particularly centre bounces and around the ground. They played on every opportunity, particularly backward of centre. They just gave their hands free flowing way they went. Their small forwards had an impact, so their small forwards came up, laid tackles inside the square, and just the ability just to keep playing with enthusiasm and play on. And then the other most important thing that I was really impressed with what they did is they went one-on-one behind the ball. Hallelujah. Thank you. Thank you, coaching staff at Carlton. But they went one-on-one, which created better structure for them and good starting points from behind the ball and forced the Suns to go down the line. So they just hunted the ball. They won the clearances. At one stage, it was 7-0 in the last quarter in clearances in favour of Carlton. And this situation, Cripper and Hewitt were really good in the centre. But I love this. Normally for the whole year, and in particular the first three quarters, the Carlton player would come at the Suns player, and then it would just be dinky little hand pass. In this situation, Saar just holds, and that's why he gets the intercept. So this is what I was saying before in relation to having presence come from behind. That player who's got the ball can't see behind him, but the person in front can be a gauge. So if they go at the player, then they're eliminated. But if they sort of tread back a little bit and hold their width and hold their balance, it allows time for that player to come behind and make an impact. But then they were able to just do stuff like this. They were able to just get the ball running and get inside forward 50. And there's a great one-on-one mark. And their small forwards had an impact in the last quarter, and that's what they were crying out for. So DeConey just got after it. They just won and they just got their hands free. They just played on every opportunity. And it didn't matter if they stuffed it up. They just kept on persisting, kept on getting the ball forward. The clearances were really a massive improvement in comparison to the first three quarters. And I love this. When rucks, this is a bit of a ruck 101, a lot of the rucks obviously are coming over the line, but if you're an athletic ruck, treat it like a basketball baller. So if they're going to come across the line and stand still, just get you a couple of steps. I love this from DeConey. Look, flat-footed and just jumps. That's that's a basketball tap. That's a basketball, tap out. That's how, so they're the ones that are going to crouch. And so he was able to win the hit outs, able to put an advantage. And then Hewitt was able to man up. He bodied him, got in front with Noah Anderson and also Rao, and just was harder at the ball. They just wanted it more in the last quarter. They came out a totally different side. Then they just got the hands, and they were able to use the hands, and they were able to give their hands back, and they honoured those players from behind. Like this. So because they went one-on-one, they forced it down the line, and Wiedering won a free kick, but he just hand passes it. Hand pass to Hollands. Hollands no options. Handballs it back, and then play on, kick it down the line. But watch what Cripper does here. Grabs the ball. Look at his first instincts. Handball. There's a small forward. They gave the ball. He honoured the run from behind. And this fast play, and this is what Sydney was able to do against Brisbane, it doesn't allow the Suns to set up behind the ball. Doesn't give them time. And now look at the space you're kicking into. It's a great kick, and that results in a goal. So you can see that they were honouring those runs from behind. And this is the small forwards coming up and having an impact. So the ball goes, and in the first three quarters, Rao just dominated. He dominated for the game, but they shut him down in the last quarter because they had run from behind. They had the small forwards coming up and having an impact and not being too worried. Yes, you've got to have mindset on your direct opponent, but if you come up and force this pressure, then it doesn't allow the opposition to have easy, uncontested footy going inside forward 50. So great presence. Gets up, goes again. That's his direct opponent, but gives away a free kick. But that's fine. At least he's having a crack. So they get back. But what the most important thing they do here, Carlton, when they set up behind the ball, is a bit of a slow play. I'll just they go one-on-one. They go one-on-one. They didn't go to a zone, which has been their weakness all year. That's why sides have been able to counteract against them and been able to dissect their defence, but they went one-on-one. And that's what allows this intercept here. Because when you go one-on-one, it forces them to think about going down the line, but it also creates the opportunity for turnovers, because then sides try and pinpoint those 45s. And that's what happens in this situation. So we've got one-on-one, we've got one-on-one, we've got one-on-one, and we've got one-on-one at the contest, which forces the turnover. So once again, small forward coming up, turnover. Now, this is where Motlop gets on the run and runs forward. So really good setup. And that's because they went one-on-one. Kick down the line. Great effort. But there is the small forward. Representation. He's laid the tackle. Turned it over with a free kick. But he's back into the play. Great contested footy win. Takes it inside forward 50. Takes the grass. And kicks it in. And they got another set shot on goal. So really well set up, but all set up because they went one-on-one behind the ball. Now, this shows you just the ability to the hands, and it plays out to centre half forward. So win the ball, contested footy, hand pass, get the ball, hand pass it forward. They weren't doing this in the first 3 quarters. They haven't been doing this all year, to be honest. Handball, wait for numbers, take off. Kicks it to a contest. Great one-on-one contest to bring the ball to ground. Going at the ball. Still involved. Small forwards. Hand pass. Hand pass. Hand pass. Out. Shot on goal. So really good. They didn't do that for the first 3 quarters, and they haven't done it all year. But that was intent. That was the ability to get the ball going. Quick hands. Just try and get it forward. And then this is the last play, and this is my favourite play, and this just shows you behind the goals the setup that Carlton was able to do. So there's a kick inside forward 50, and Gold Coast win the ball. So this is where you set up, and this is where I talk about the second and third layers about going one-on-one. So normally in this situation, when the ball comes down this side of the ground, clubs love to then switch the play. One, there's often their backs are set up in that situation too, but also too, you force the defence to actually work hard to push across, so you spread the defence. So they get the ball and they share it across, Gold Coast Suns. Then they share it across here, and now this is, in the past, Carlton would have gone to a zone. So this would have been easy to dissect. But what they do in this situation is they go one-on-one. One-on-one. So you see he's picking up that man shot away. One-on-one. They've got this guy covered. One-on-one. Got him covered. So totally different. This guy's waiting here for their other players to come across. So they've set up structurally really well. So if I continue to roll the footage, one-on-one. Nearly pushing across as one-on-one. One-on-one. Coverage. They haven't done that all year, Carlton. That was, in my mind, that was the biggest difference from the first 3 quarters to the last quarter, is they went one-on-one behind the ball. So Blue supporters, I know it's been a long year. I know it's been a very frustrating year for you, but there is the hope. There is the hope that, I like the courage from the coaching staff to actually implement that, particularly in that last quarter. And you can see how quickly they can have scoreboard pressure. So they went one-on-one. They won the contested footy, particularly around the stoppages. The half forwards got up and had an impact. And the other thing was that the ability to play on every opportunity, just created movement up the field, played on. They honoured those runs from behind, something that they haven't been doing all year. But it was great to see that they flicked the switch and did that in the last quarter.